They say the most powerful magic isn't found in a dusty tome or a hidden cave. It's found in the corners of our daily lives, the way we set our intentions and build a life that feels as sacred as it does successful. Welcome to the Coven's Corner. We're here to bring you grounded, accessible magic every witchy Wednesday, and there's a seat at our table for you. So grab a cup of tea, and let's look at the world a little differently. Our circle is open. Let's begin. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Coven's Corner. Our circle is open, and we are so glad that you've chosen to share the space with us today.
Welcome back, everyone. We're really glad you're here.
So before we jump into this week's topic, let's do our weekly vibe check. Dawn, what's on your altar this week?
Well, on my altar this week, I have some smoky quartz and a chunk of raw black tourmaline. Very grounding. They're my favorite grounders. On my mind, I've been thinking a lot about the balance between wanting to give your all to people and knowing exactly when your tank is hitting empty. What's happening in your world, Kacey?
Well, this hits incredibly home for me, too. On my mind this week has been the juggling act of professional and personal life between, the on-campus, day-to-day with student support, and then being a single parent. My energy is pulled in a million different directions. So I've been trying to be very intentional about locking down my personal time so I don't burn completely out.
So it sounds like you're the perfect person to lead today's conversation.
Absolutely. It is highly relevant. So today we're talking about one of the hardest, most essential skills a practitioner can master, drawing the line. So we're exploring how to say no like a high priestess, setting boundaries that protect your peace, your practice, and your paycheck. All right, so let's start by leaning right into the corporate witch reality. So protecting your energy in a high demanding career without sacrificing your productivity or your professionalism. We often call this the warded office.
I like that term because a lot of people think that their practice has to stay confined to their home altar. And we've talked about this before, bringing our witchiness into our workspaces. So you can absolutely blend the mundane and magical wards at your day job. Think about the physical layout of your workspace. Using physical anchors on your desk, like protective crystal. I have crystals all over my office.
Same.
A heavy stone paperweight or a literal do not disturb sign can act as a real world warding system. And it depends on what kind of an office that you have. I'm fortunate enough that I have a window and a door. So my office is my space. But for a long time, I was hesitant to bring my witchiness to the job site, to my office. But I got over that really quickly. So it is there, and it helps me feel grounded at work, kind of like I would at home.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've never been in the broom closet, but my office is definitely one thing that I bring in is I do in the corners of my office. I will do a bag with a black tourmaline, a clear quartz, and some salt. And that just kind of creates that energetic boundary. Right. Cleansing anyone who comes into my space, clearing any negative energy that goes on in there, just really kind of helps to block the negative out. So, creating that energetic buffer. And, we desperately need that buffer because of what psychologists call the emotional labor. So when you fall into that trap of overhelping or constantly overextending yourself for colleagues or projects or, just your own personal need to help or to put yourself out there, you aren't just being a good worker, you are creating a massive leak in your magical battery.
And I think this happens with a lot of people. We're asked to do something, so we do it. We want to help. We want to make things easier for our coworkers, for our students, whatever the case might be. And then the next time, it's kind of expected that you'll do it because you did it before. So why wouldn't you be okay with doing it again?
Right.
And then once they discover that you can do A, B, C, and D, they're going to add an E. So we really need to be mindful that we're not overextending ourselves and running that battery out like you were talking about. So you have to come to the realization that your energy is finite. It does not go on forever and ever and ever and ever. So let's put a hot take on the table. Yeah. Quiet quitting. You probably have heard this term a lot in recent times. Is it actually a modern secular term for setting a healthy, energetic boundary with your job?
Well, I absolutely think it is. Society frames it as laziness, but a lot of times it's just someone deciding to stop letting their career bleed into their personal life without compensation. So it's choosing to give exactly what is required and leaving the rest of your magic for yourself. And, this is one of those things that society will take and take and take and take because you let them. So if you don't want your energy depleted by things like this, then you have to set that boundary for yourself. And, quiet quitting is one way to protect your energy.
And it's funny how the mindset on this topic changes generationally because the generation before me, you worked your fingers to the bone. And if it meant you worked 80 hours a week and you went home, you slept, you got up and did it again, that's what society expected of you. That was the norm. And as the generations have gone by, millennials are actually the ones who said, I'm not putting all of me there for a job.
Yeah.
My me needs to be in my personal life. And I think that's such a refreshing change from the old mindset. So that's hard to say. Most misunderstood part of that is that people think that this shift is about actually doing less, but it's doing what's sustainable for you. It's not overextending yourself. So people clutching their pearls about quiet quitting are often the ones who benefited from everybody else's overwork. So they're not upset about the boundaries. They're upset about no longer having free labor. So I think it's an absolute healthy, mental health positive because you shouldn't be, your whole life should not be your job. Your life is your life. Your job is something that you do so that you can have a life, not instead of having a life.
Right. And your work will replace you within a month of you leaving, but your family cannot.
Right.
Your loved ones cannot. So making sure that you're taking care of yourself and setting those healthy boundaries is essential.
Absolutely.
All right. So moving on to our next segment. So let's move away from workplace strategies straight into the heavy-duty magical toolkit. So let's talk about the actual mechanics of protection.
Good topic. I love this. So first up is the classic salt and iron line. There's a technical why behind the traditional protective elements like salt, like iron, herbs like rosemary, one of my favorites, and rue. They essentially function as a spiritual filter. They help to keep out some of the BS. They trap some of that heavy parasitic energy before it gets into your threshold. So again, when Kacey was talking about having packets in the corners, there are reasons for that. There's a reason to have salt in front of your doorway because they do help filter out some of that heavy negative earth-sucking, spirit-sucking energy. And we all know it's out there. Oh, yeah. So this kind of gives you a way to try to combat some of that.
Absolutely. It's almost like an energetic air filter. Right. And if the energy is particularly persistent, we can look at the mirror magic. So I know we had talked a little bit about mirror magic in one of our earlier episodes, but using small mirrors facing outward on your desk, your windowsills, is an ancient method to reflect heavy energies directly back to its source. So I know Dawn has talked about using energetic mirrors to reflect back, but you can also use physical mirrors to help reflect back that energy as well.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on the ethics, safety, and proper execution of return to senders?
Well, that's pretty easy and pretty straightforward. If you're sending me something that I don't want, you can have it back. I don't need to have it. So you're not generating new harm to somebody that you're sending. That's your own stuff. You send it back to you because I don't want it. I don't need it. I have my own stuff. So yeah, and that's where the actual mirrors or the mirroring technique comes in very handy.
Exactly. So it's almost like an energetic refund.
I like that.
But before you can even do that, you have to run what's called a vampire check. So there is an energetic audit of your life. You have to honestly identify the specific people demanding emails or toxic situations that act as literal energy vampires and deliberately use cord cutting visualizations to stop their ongoing drain.
Right. And this is something that I think everybody at some point in their life has come into contact with someone that when you finish interacting with them, you are absolutely exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And it could just be a mere conversation, but when that conversation is over and that person has moved on or you've moved on, you actually feel exhausted to your bone because they're an energy suck. They're an energy vampire. So I think being able to recognize that, because I think we've all experienced it, and in younger days didn't know what it was.
Right.
Just knew that there was something weird going on, and why am I so tired all of a sudden? Learning, and again, we talk about this all the time. This craft builds by experience, by learning, by experimenting, and if repeated times interacting with this person does the same thing, that needs to be a light bulb to you that you need to do some protection for yourself and some sending of that energy back to them because it is theirs. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfectly said. Thanks so much, Dawn. All right. Moving into our next segment, we're going to be talking about internal boundaries. So you really need to know your limits and know your power. So sometimes the strongest boundary that you'll ever draw is the one that you set for yourself. And this is really important because when you don't hold firm to your boundaries, you can't expect anyone else to hold firm to your boundaries. So you need to make sure that you're maintaining boundaries for yourself, whether that be learning how to say no, whether that be not overextending yourself for whatever it is. Maybe wait to do that third load of laundry until next weekend. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself, you're setting boundaries within yourself so that you know where to set boundaries with other people.
That's very, very much on point. I had a conversation at work with one of my colleagues the other day, and she's an older woman like I am. And she was talking about the difference in this generation as opposed to our generation and what she termed a lack of work ethic. Now, in our generation, you don't go home until the job's done. It doesn't matter if it takes you 8 hours, 10 hours, or 6 hours, whatever it is. The younger generations are saying, you know what, my time here is up. I got done what I could get done today, and I'll pick it up tomorrow and get it finished. So again, those two very different mindsets about this very topic. So this is what we're going to call Shadow and Scope segment. It's about looking inward at why we allow our boundaries to slip in the first place.
It really is. So I often draw a parallel to professional environments here. So in fields like we are in with academic support and working with students, um, we have a very strict, very defined scope of practice as to what we are allowed to do, how we are allowed to interact with our students, and things like that. We know exactly what we were trained to handle and when we need to refer to a specialist.
Right.
But in magic, do we? A lot of practitioners burn out because they think they have to fix, heal, or cast a spell for every single problem that their friends or family members bring to them.
I think this is something that a lot of beginners, this is a trap that a lot of beginners fall into. You're excited about your new lifestyle and about what you're learning and experiencing, and you want to share that with everybody, and you want to help everybody. But pretty quickly you get to the point where you realize you can't do everything for everybody. So you can't carry the weight of the world on your altar, is how I like to look at it. So you need to know your personal scope of practice, and that means coming to the realization and accepting that you can't be everything for everybody. And sometimes that can take quite a while, and quite a lot of self beat up before you come to the realization that you just can't be everything for everybody.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, we were talking a little while ago about not being able to pour from an empty cup. And it's true. You can only do so much before it's someone else needs to do the work for themselves. And with setting boundaries, I know that some people have a really hard time with it. I mean, we all have a really hard time with setting boundaries, especially with people we love. But boundaries are there for a reason, and they are there to protect yourself. They're there to protect other people, and you can't operate unchecked. You need to be able to know your limits and know the limits that other people can have with you. And so this also can apply to our digital lives too. So we need to implement these internal rules. So, for example, our Witchy Wednesday rule, when we deliberately turn off our phone, log out of the apps, and fiercely protect our personal time from the constant draining noise of the social media algorithms.
Right, and one of the things that I got caught up in, so I was pretty okay getting to the point where I understood that I can't be everything for everybody. But then I decided, because I'm a Capricorn and I'm a teacher, is that I'll just teach everybody how to do it for themselves. And found I was spending just as much time trying to teach people to learn their own boundaries and whatever it was in their life, that I wasn't gaining anything from it. I hadn't really cut anything off. I just changed how my energy was being dispersed among everybody but me. So that was a tough one to try to work through.
Yeah, I bet. All right, on to our next segment. So we're gonna work on some grounding techniques that will help all of you to help to set healthy boundaries for yourself and to learn how to ground your own energy. So to help our listeners actually implement this in real life, we want to share with you a real-time $0 grounding tool that you can use before committing your energy to any new request. And we're calling it the Yes Ritual.
I love this. This is one of my favorites. I don't do it often enough.
Right.
But we really need to. So it relies on what's called the 3 breaths rule. Before you immediately open your mouth and blurt out an automatic yes to a new project, a new yes, I'm going to join your committee, absolutely, or even a complex spell, you have to make yourself pause. Okay? You need that time, especially if you're a yes person and you are a people pleaser and you want everybody to be happy, you want to share yourself with everybody. That's what leads to that burnout and that overwhelming energy suck. So you need to take that pause.
Absolutely. So what you do is you take 3 intentional, deep, diaphragmatic breaths and focus entirely on your physical body to check your internal alignment. So if you imagine saying yes and your gut expands and feels light, it's a genuinely aligned yes. But if your stomach tightens up and your chest feels constricted, um, or you feel a sudden wave of heaviness, this is your internal boundary trying to speak to you. So listen to your body. It knows when you're overextending before your brain does.
And I think we've all been in situations where somebody will ask something of us and we immediately say yes. And then we go, oh, why did I say yes to that? I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. So rather than pausing after you've said yes, pause before you say yes and weigh it out within yourself and make sure that it is something that you are capable and willing and able to do.
Absolutely. So your gut, that instinct in you is going to tell you whether or not this is a right thing for you to do. Yeah. So listen to your body, listen to yourself, because that's your own spirit's way of telling you what you can and can't absorb.
Right. So kind of a funny little anecdote here. So I use Waze as my GPS. Okay, and you're going to think this isn't related, but it's related. So my Waze will tell me, and I have to turn it on every day when I go to work that I've been at for years, because I'll end up in New York, because my thoughts are, and that's happened. My thoughts are just everywhere. So I have to turn my Waze on to get to work every day and to get home. So there have been times that my Waze will come up and it's taking me a completely different way than I normally go. And I'm like, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going that way. I don't even want to go through Bridgewater. I just want to go to my job. So I do that and I get stuck in traffic, or there's an accident and I end up being 20 minutes late for work. So I have learned to trust my GPS. And when it says I need to take a different route, then I take the different route. We kind of need to do that with ourselves as well. We need to listen to that little voice that says, okay, redirect, take the next exit, et cetera, right? So just kind of focus on that and don't be that automatic, yep, I can do that. Sure, add that to my plate too. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Our own internal ways.
Yes, I like that.
All right. So moving on to our next and last segment. It's time for our consulting the Coven and bringing our community straight into the center of the circle. So for next week's segment, we want to hear your boundary stories. So we want to know, what was a time you said yes to a project, person, or ritual when your spirit was actively screaming no? What did this experience ultimately teach you about your own boundaries? Send us your stories and send us your answers to Coven's Corner Podcast at gmail.com.
So that's going to be an incredibly healing segment to read through. I'm really looking forward to this feedback. Before we blow out our candles today, or turn off our candles today, let's anchor this entire conversation with our weekly spark, the Citadel of Light.
All right, everyone, settle comfortably in your chair. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears and allow your eyes to gently close.
Take a deep, slow breath all the way down into your diaphragm and hold it. Let it carry away the noises of the day. Imagine you are sitting at the absolute center of your own personal space. Beneath you, the ground is solid, unyielding, and deeply supportive.
With your next inhale, imagine a bright, steady light igniting at your core. As you breathe, watch this light expand outward, moving past your skin until it forms a luminous, crystalline sphere completely surrounding you, extending a full arm's length in every direction. This is your personal citadel.
See the surface of this sphere shimmer like a mirror. It is perfectly designed to be a selective filter. Love, peace, and supportive energy can pass through it with ease, but heavy expectations, corporate stress, and the demands of others hit this surface and instantly bounce away, returning to sender.
Feel the relief of this boundary. Inside this circle, your energy belongs entirely to you. You do not have to carry what isn't yours. You are safe, contained, and sovereign. Take one more deep, empowering breath, feeling your battery recharge inside your shield.
And when you're ready, gently roll your shoulders, feel the floor beneath your feet, and open your eyes.
Welcome back to the center, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at our altar today.
Make sure to protect your peace this week, keep your circle strong, keep your boundaries locked. You can follow our weekly updates on Instagram and TikTok at Coven's Corner Podcast.
We'll be back next Witchy Wednesday, so stay magical, everyone.
Be well, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. As we close the circle for today, remember that the magic doesn't end with this episode. Keep looking for the magic in the mundane. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to connect with our Coven. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Coven's Corner Podcast and at www.thecovenscorner.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a Witchy Wednesday. We'll see you next time.